aiming to be part of the one singular God. And this is the highest ascension that you can go. Now, for Yuno, I believe that's what's happening, is that he's learning the path of the serpent, and he's getting closer and closer to becoming part of the singular God. Now, Asta, of course, I have going the opposite direction in the left-hand path, where he is facing the devils. Now, in this whatever past life he may have had, as he descended, he may have very well been, a devil in his own right. And as he got lower and lower into the tree of death, he faces Dot, ascends past that into the Thaumael. And I still hold by the fact that that Liebe is part of the Thaumael. The thing is that we reach a fractalization point. Okay, so what happens is, in the Draconian order, you get to the Thaumael, where there are the opposing forces, Satan and Moloch. Now, the way it's described in Thomas Carlson's writings is that it's not so much that these guys are fighting. Instead, Satan is the one that you face first, and Satan is the destroyer. Satan destroys anything that stands in his way. The goal of Satan is that he wants people to go back to the emptiness or the chaos, or rather the Ein Sophar, which is the singular God, which is still holding his capacity as an angel, which is just an interesting philosophy in and of itself. And then past Satan is Moloch, and Moloch is attributed to fire. And the thing is that fire is the first world of both trees. It's the archetypal world, where things are starting to be created, ideas are created, and methods are created. So Moloch has a fire of creation, and Moloch's duty, essentially, in the Draconian order, is to create this new, essentially, universe for the mage that is ascending through the Draconian order to rule over and become the demiurge of. So they become part of the chaos, the empty, and the limitless all at once, thus creating this demiurge. Now, I talk about this next concept in previous videos as well, where we talk about the aeons and how they're all different. The one thing that aeons have in common is that they all eventually try to extend their hand into the world of the living, which means they try to make a physical body. It's not them per se, but it's someone that can host them. And this is what I believe Asta is, and possibly even Yuno, but more so Asta. And why I say this is because we have a boy who is completely void of magic, right? He goes against everything the world is essentially going for. And this is almost a sinful existence in and of itself, which is why I have him going down this Draconian order, this whole left-hand path. So when this happens, he's got to cross the abyss once again. So he's got to go from Keter through Dot in order for this to happen. And I brought up in the last video that for anyone to go across Dot, what happens is a sort of gravitational lensing, where if you are facing one side, the other part of you is on the other side reflected. So a part of that person is left behind. So what I believe happened was that Austin, whatever previous life, as a singular being, as a demiurge, extends his way down through the path of lightning. And as he reached Dot, what happens is that he is split into two through this gravitational lens that happens in the abyss when he faces it. So this gives rise to the fact that Liebe and Asta look pretty much the same. And this goes for anyone in the Elf Arc as well that was possessed. I think this further backs why they were able to find hosts that not only stored the same type of magic, but also had the same exact looks. There's a reincarnation cycle that happens as you travel these paths. So I think that is a good and well enough reason for Liebe and Asta to exist and coincide with one another. And something that I've wanted to point out for a while now is that there's something that we get in common with Asta, with Noel and Yuno, when they assimilate with their spirits, and that's versus like Nox, if you will, where Nox devil unions are more of an add-on, where you can tell like, okay, that part's Gimadello, that part's Plumede. The Asta is assimilating with his devil. It's not quite the same, and it's not exactly the same as the Triad either, where the Triads seem to take on more of the devil themselves. Asta seems to have just a very specific unification with Liebe that just seems whole, as opposed to two separate beings coinciding with each other, if you know what I mean. And I think it's indicative of Asta and Liebe being actually one being at a point in time, and possibly a past life. So to kind of go into this, if this is the case, this Asta right here, right now, does not have a father. His father is him, essentially. He created himself. Now, something very interesting that I came across in the reading of Thomas Carlson is that that when you go through the Draconian Order, the goal is to go into the womb of a creator, to rebirth yourself. And I thought it was very funny, just the way it was worded, because that's essentially what happens with Lucida, right? She's not able to support life, really. But somehow she was able to support Asta's life. So it's more of a very physical take to an idea. And I think that's where Lucida plays into it. And looking at it, I can see why someone like Lucida might have been freaked out as to like, okay, I should not have had a kid. Like, I don't know what's going on. And you can even go the route where she understood what was going on. But having a child that clearly took the path of the dragon, I think the best place to drop it off at is a church, so that demiurge grows up with the best intentions and makes sure that the human race is not completely decimated and destroyed. I just think it's a very interesting concept, this path of the dragon. So that's kind of where I have the boys, is Asta taking the road less traveled, the path of the dragon, or the left-hand path, where is probably more than likely going the path of the serpent, which is the right-hand path, back up to the singular God. Now, it could play out where in this decides to change routes. How that would look, I'm not quite sure, but I think there is still room for a demonic being to take advantage of someone like especially with an evolving grimoire that can go from a 4th leaf to a 5th leaf, and that magic stone that he has, I feel like, well, they give him great strength, also leave him very vulnerable to things like that. So he's got to be very solid in his path, in and out. But I guess that's really the main idea. I don't think Asta has a legitimate father. How Tabata wants to roll this out, I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to see what happens, because it's, I don't think it's a coincidence that Asta's name is Asta, and then you have a devil that's clearly Astaroth. So we'll see how that plays out. Other than that, I don't want to make this video too long. I just kind of wanted to get that out there. But essentially, just I think Asta and Liubei are the same being. They got split, and Liubei was left behind in the underworld due to Dot doing this gravitational lens thing to them. So Asta ends up in the world of the living, being reborn, whereas Liubei is the other part of him that is left there, explaining why they both have no magic, as they were once a part of the empty. And on top of that, I'm really sold on the fact that at least Liubei is, Satan Lucifer in this story. And if that is the case, that means that he traveled beyond the Thaumael at a point, which means he traveled into chaos, the empty and darkness. And that's where you would find a thing like anti-magic. So that's what I'm thinking. That's just in my head. I don't want to make it any more complicated. There's a lot more to this, of course. But I guess if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, death threats, or anything, you guys can just hit me up in the comment section below. I don't always get notifications here, so the best place is probably Twitter if you really want to reach out. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought about this in the comment section below, like I said, or on Twitter. Thank you guys for the support. This has been Jack Goes to Goat. I will see you in the next video where we talk about Zagrid and how I would write him in a Jack Clover edition. This has been Jack Goes to Goat. You either know or you don't.